Very good morning to everyone. As part of our Python learning journey, we are moving towards our next step. In the last session, I have implemented the interaction between Core switches, instrument cluster, and then ACC module. How to control the ACC states using Core switches that we had seen. We have implemented baseline module. Today, we are going to fine-tune it based on this state diagram. I have a state diagram here. What are the different states that ACC system can have in real time? Based on the different triggering event, based on the different trigger that we give in to the ACC module, it will be in 3 different states, right? Among them, the first state is ACC off. There's a ACC off is a state in which the ACC is inactive. That means it's not doing any task, and it is like a normal vehicle. So the ACC doesn't have any role in the vehicle control. That state is called as ACC off. Then we have ACC standby. This is the second state. In this state, ACC is ready, but it is not doing any vehicle control. It is not in action. It is ready, but it is not in action. That is called as ACC standby. The third state that we have for ACC system, ACC module is ACC speed control and ACC time gap control, right? These are the 2 substate of ACC active, right? So the third state is ACC active. In that, we have 2 substates, ACC speed control and then ACC time gap control. This is something related to the ACC module related concept. This is not Python. Anyhow, in order to learn Python, we are learning a project, right? Using a project, we are trying to learn Python and its different feature to implement what we want, right? Here, as I told you, we have 2 different states within ACC active, like 2 different mode, ACC speed control mode and the ACC time gap control mode. What are these 2? Right, when you are driving in the road, in a narrow road, when there is no forward vehicle, but ACC is controlling, ACC is driving the vehicle, right? So in that case, so you used to set a speed according to that ACC will drive. This is called as ACC speed control mode. When there is a forward vehicle and the ACC system is locked to the ACC system is locked to that vehicle, according to the speed of the forward vehicle, when the ACC control the speed of the ACC vehicle, then it is called as time gap control. That means you have a forward vehicles when you drive, when the ACC is controlling the vehicle, right? So that is called as time gap control. So we will study them, like we will have more idea about these states in upcoming session, but this is basic introduction. Today, our goal is to implement this state diagram in our existing implementation. We have an implementation, but it is not as per this state diagram. It has some loopholes. We are going to fine tune our code. Whatever the code that we have now, that we are going to fine tune. Right. So what they are saying here, ACC, when you are in ACC off, you have to trigger a condition for ACC on. Possibly, it can be achieved via pressing the on-off switch that we have no in the in the cross switch panel. So when you turn on the ACC, you will go to ACC standby. Here we have to understand one point. When we want to go to ACC active, we cannot directly go from ACC off to ACC active. There is no provision to that, right? From ACC off, you have to go, you can go only to ACC standby when you press the ACC on button. The only way to turn on the ACC is pressing the on button, right? Now ACC on button, we have to do that. Okay. From here, from ACC standby, when you want to go to ACC active, you have to trigger a condition. The trigger condition is pressing set button, right? We have a set button or resume button. These are two triggering conditions. One is when you press the set button, that ACC will take the control, and then when you resume it after or after it is ACC is that means when you ACC stopped due to stopped vehicle or slow moving vehicle. In that case, when you want to resume the ACC back to its original action, you can use the resume button. These are the two things that will activate the ACC active state, right? For ACC speed, in between the ACC speed control and time gap control. So when there is no forward vehicle, you will be in ACC speed control. When there is a forward vehicle, you will come to ACC time gap control. Like that, there will be a internal switching. Okay. How to deactivate the ACC state from active to standby? For that, we have some trigger condition. Those are two in this project, that whatever that we have taken. In this, there are two switches called, these are explicit trigger condition. One is like another one implicit trigger condition, like when your speed is reduced to 25 km/h, automatically it will cancel and will come to standby. So those are the other things. But explicit trigger conditions are, there are two switches in the vehicle dashboard called brake switch 1 and brake switch 2. These two switches are emergency switches. These two switches are emergency switches. When any one of them are pressed, when any one of them is pressed, ACC system will come from active to standby. So in order to deactivate, first you have to be in active state. Similar way, when you are in standby, in order to act, when you want to go to active, your current state should be standby. It should not be off, right, or some other state. So now we understand the deactivation condition. Say like by pressing the brake switch 1 or brake switch 2, they are emergency switches that we have in front of the driver. By pressing them, we can cancel the ACC state and we'll come back to standby. Active state will be cancelled. We also have a provision to switch from ACC active to directly off. That is possible. ACC active to directly we can go to off. That is also possible. For that, you have to press ACC off button. Right, we have a ACC off button in the cross switches. So just pressing off button will switch you to off. When you are in standby, you can also go to off by pressing the off button. Right. So it is possible to jump from active to off, right? Standby to off. Those are possible, right? But when you want to go to active, you have to come to standby, then only it is possible to go to active. So this is the state diagram. That for this, according to this state diagram, we are going to fine tune our code first. Right, let me bring our code where we have to do this. So maybe probably we will be doing it in these three ICM module and then ACC module, because these two things are going to interact. So let me come up with ACC pad plus plus ACC version 03.5. Right. Then we do have ICM version 3, right? As far as the ICM is concerned, the button presses are implemented. Okay. First thing, now we have to touch the ACC. When, as per this diagram, when ACC on button is pressed, your current state should be ACC off. Right. You should not respond to on button when you are in standby or you are in active. Got it? So when the Kurai switches is pressed, that means when it is pressed and you are going to, when the on button is pressed means you have to check the current state of the ACC. What do you have to check? If I think we have to maintain an internal state called ACC state. Let me check whether we have that. We don't have. Let us bring it. So this is global ACC state, right? Then ACC state, initially the value of ACC state is 0. Then we are bringing it to our on message. Here we say we made it global again because we are going to use it in this thread. So if ACC state is equal to 0, that means it is in off, then only it should perform this action. If it is in standby or it is in active or something like that, in that time, it is don't care. So first we have to check the current state of the ACC, whether that state is equivalent to in off state. Okay, if it is in off state, then upon pressing the on button, we will go to standby. That is explained here. Right. Then when you are in when you want to activate it, usually we will activate via set button, right? Set button or resume button. We have to check, well, before activating it, we have to check the current state, whether it is in standby. So here when we switch to ACC active state to 2, no, in that time we also set the global variable that we have. State equivalent to 2. That means standby. So when set button is pressed, the set button is represented as 2 here. So we have to check if ACC state is equivalent to 2. If it is standby, only then that should do this task. It should not do something like without any. Before doing it, let us validate our current implementation, how that works. Only then we can understand how this implementation, how see, we have to know the current condition. Then only whether is it in line with the state diagram or it has some flaw, right? So let us check that by running our code. Right here, Python ACC version 03.5, and here we have Python is ICM version 03.5. Here it is, Python BCM version 03.5. Then finally ECM version 02.5 because we don't have, right? So all our things are running. At present, see, when I press the off button, sorry, on button, it should go to standby right now. Let me check the state diagram in the current implementation. When I press on button, it is going to standby. That is great. But if I, like before, I am in standby now, again I press on button, it is going to off because it is on and off state. That is correct only. But from here to go to active, I have to press set button, right? So I press the, as per the state diagram, I press set button to activate to active. So by pressing that, I go to active. That also happens. But at this moment, I want to go to off, right? So when I press off, okay, that is all, that also happens. But from here, I want to come to active, right? From off to active, I'm trying that condition, but it is doing, like it is switching from ACC off to active. That flow is not here in this diagram. So there is a issue in that, right? Then from standby to off, that is possible. Let me, I think that is already there. So I'm going to ACC standby. From here, when I press the off button again, I go to ACC off. So this flow is there, this flow is there, this flow is there, and this flow is there, right? But we have a wrong flow from here to active we have done. So that we have to address. And then for deactivation condition, we don't have implementation yet. So that is the, if that is done, so we have to go to standby, right? That we have to do. So this is what the current implementation is. So to fix that, so going from off to active is not possible, no? That's why we have to check what is the current state of our ACC. So for that, only I made if ACC state is equivalent to 0. If it is in off state, then you switch to ACC standby. Initially to ACC on and then to standby, because the standby is the stable state and the on is will be a small period of time that will be in on, and then it will go to ACC standby. Okay, brilliant. Then when I am in standby, I have to check my current state is ACC state is equal to 2. If it is 2, only then I have to switch that to ACC active. Right. See, when I am in, okay, to do that, we are going here. No, when we go from, when we are in, okay, this is like off on set button. Right. I think that's all I believe. If I fix this, that will do. This coast resume. Resume also, when we have to check, when we press resume, our current state should be something like standby. Yes. So this is coast, this is resume now. Right. Only then we have to go to ACC Act. Right. Let us check that now. So this is part of ACC module now. So let me terminate ACC. Here we have, this is ACC. Okay, we have terminated that and we are running it back. If statement, it shows some error. There is an expected intent here. Right now. Let me save that. Then it's running now. So now right, I am in ACC off. From here, I try to press set button. It is not going to active now. I press the resume button. It is not going to active now. First, so to follow the correct flow, I press on button now. When I press on button, it goes to standby. Brilliant. Okay, when I am in standby, I am pressing set button. Interesting. We are still in standby only. It should go to active, no? Why it's not going? Okay. So our current state is standby. I'm pressing set button. It is not responding. Let me check the code. When set button is pressed, if ACC state is equal to 2. Okay, we are not setting it. That is the problem. Right. Now we can terminate this and rerun it. Right now. So ACC in off state. When AC is on off state, I press on button. Yeah, maybe. Right. So now I come to ACC. I press. Interesting. By default, it is in off state only, no? When I press on off button, I check the okay. So here we have when we press this, we have to make that AC state to 0. That we are not doing because we have to control this variable as well. Right. So let me terminate ACC. I bring his feedback. Line number 65. Okay, it's going to standby now. From standby, I press set button. It is going to active now. From active, I directly come back to off. That means by following this scenario, so I go to off. That is great. Then I come back to standby. From standby, I go to off. That is also happened. That means I check this flow, right, or standby and then standby two. So now I am going to check from off to direct jump to active. Is it possible? Right, now I am in ACC off. I use on active directly set button, right? So it's still in off. It's not going to active. Previously it was happened. Similarly, I press the resume button. Even now it is not going to active. It is in off state. That's great, right? So we made that state diagram, but only thing is we didn't implement these brake switches yet. Right, brake switch 1 and brake, sorry, this is a deactivation condition we have to implement. For that, we have to implement something called brake switches. By pressing them, we have to, any one of them is pressed, we have to come to standby, right? Let us implement that today. Okay, team, to implement brake switches, what I did, I add I included, that is the code for brake switch one press, brake switch one press, right? That we have added it, add that to ICM code itself, right? So this is ICM code. Here we have a code for ICM dashboard, no? So at the bottom of that, beside ACC button that we have in that dashboard, we create a new button for brake switch one. So that we call that as brake switch one button. So we call TTK button, then we assign a text, and then we attach two event procedures. One is for button press, another one is for button release. That we have done. Same thing we have done for Cori switches as well, right now. So when we press them, we switch them to some value. When we release them, we switch them to 7. Here, when we press them, when we press brake switch 1, we push that to, we switch that to 1. When we release it, we switch that back to 0. So it's just like a button press, right? And then we place that brake switch 1 button in this particular location, 530, X530 and Y550, which is very closer to our ACC button that we have before, right? Beside that, we have this button as well. So when we click this button, the brake switch 1 signal that is transmitted from ICM should toggle from 0 to 1 and then back to 0. So that should happen. So let us check that whether that happens. For that, what I do, I just activate, I just enable the print for transmission message, because ICM is the one which is transmitting. No, so when we create the impact on the brake switch 1 request, brake switch 1 signal, that should reflect in that transmitted message. So to watch that, I enable this print statement. Okay, brilliant. Let us check that first whether that is working. For that, what I do, I come here and then we have, this is our, yeah, this is our ICM module. So here I run ICM module. Right, when I run ICM module, I get the GUI as well here with brake switch 1 button, right? We also have CAN signal which is transmitted from that node, right, which is brake switch 1 signal. So when I press this brake switch 1 button, that value of brake switch 1 signal that we have here should toggle to 1 and back to 0. So let me click that. So it happens right now. When I click that, it switches to 1. When I release it, it goes to 0. Brilliant. So now we have the button press is detected and transmitted in the CAN signal. Now it is the responsibility of the ACC upon receiving this signal, when it is inactive, if ACC is inactive, it should switch to standby. Right now, that code we have to write. To write that code, I go back to ICM here, sorry, ACC node that we have here, right? Okay, so this is our ACC. Here, I added, yes, if I added a new if statement, I believe, okay, upon receiving message 120, I check whether the brake switch 1 is received. If it is received and the value is 1, I change ACC state to 2, driver info to 2, everything. Right, ACC variable state to 2 and signal state to 2, and then driver info value to 2. So now we have switched the ACC to standby upon receiving break switch 1 signal with the value of 1 right now. So let us check whether that happens. For that, I have to run ACC module. So our ACC module is, I think this is not ACC module. I think this is ACC module. Right. So this is my ACC module. Let me run that now. Right. It is running. So now it is a time for us to check that break switch 1. That is ACC deactivation step that we explained here. Right. When we press the break switch 1, it should switch back to standby. Right. Let me check that. Here we have ACC switches. Then I turn on ACC so that it becomes standby now. Then after that, I press set button. It goes to active. At this moment, I press break switch 1. When I press break switch 1, it is changed to stand. That's all. It works. Again, when I press resume, it go back to active. Again, I press break switch 1, it's changed to standby. That's all. We have implemented this. But we also have to implement the same thing for break switch 2. When we design GUI for ECM module, we will implement that. Okay, no. That's all, team. That's all for today. Let me catch you with another topic in upcoming session. Thank you. Thank you for watching.